as well as here in person in the Invoke Innovation Lab to our first installment of our Distinguished Lecturer Series for the spring. Welcome. As you know, we'll have 3 of these lectures this semester, and we're going to start today kicking it off with Mr. Brian Badinger. He is from Louisiana Blue.
Yep.
I got to make sure that I got the right branding name, that I don't say the wrong thing. So Mr. Brian Badinger has a passion for driving innovation and modernizing business services that improve health outcomes for customers and enables the provider community to deliver patient-centric care. He's a business and IT professional with over 25 years of experience in both healthcare and technology services. He joined Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana back in 2001 when it was still Blue Cross Blue Shield. And he's worked across many different business and IT areas. And this has contributed to his well-rounded, comprehensive healthcare background. This includes strong cross-functional leadership skills, in-depth technical skills, and a deep understanding of healthcare workflows. These experiences position Brian for executive leadership opportunities with a focus on transforming services and delivering new capabilities for the organization, members, and providers. And I should tell you, his title is Vice President of Technical Operations, EPIC Programs, and he can define that a little more for you in this talk. He graduated from Southeastern. He's an alumni, line up, with a Bachelor of Science, and he continued his professional development throughout the years, ranging from certified Microsoft systems engineers, SAF, Agile, EPIC Payer Platform, and others have contributed to his in-depth knowledge and his continued success. So he is here today to speak to us on improving healthcare through digital health services. So please help me welcome Mr. Brian Badinger.
Chris Hudson is here as well. Chris is the manager of our clinical data exchange team, so does a great job, and really we can get into some of that aspect as well. Chris is also alumni, so we'll both tag team in it. So we recently renamed our area digital health versus the technical operations. So didn't have all these fancy rooms and equipment when I was here. Very different atmosphere, so it's nice to see all the stuff that you guys have here. I'll get in front of the camera so some people can hear me online. So I want to say, I was thinking about it, I think I graduated in 96, not to date myself too bad. It was probably before the USB drive was actually out and about, but so you can imagine that. And so started out my career really after I graduated, worked for a few consulting companies, really building servers, networks, doing firewalls, things like that. Back in the day, we had, we went from a dial-up to ISDN and moved on to some fiber and stuff like that as it evolved over the years. But really building out small local networks with Windows servers. And then Microsoft came out with Active Directory Exchange for email and so forth. So really started spinning that up, working around Baton Rouge area for legal companies and things like that. And so really got certified in a few things in addition to MCSE. We did some Citrix when Citrix was kind of spinning up. If you guys are familiar with that, we use Citrix at work to be able to launch remote desktop and being able to work from home or any place that we are, right? Being able to have that hypervisor experience and a desktop with applications and things on it. And then also Cisco certifications, always a good one. CCNA, kind of configuring routers and stuff and firewalls that we heavily use. So did want to PowerPoint you guys to death and just really want to have more of a conversation and give you insight into some of the things, the tools and technologies. And when we talk about digital health, and it's definitely expanded over time. But I know when I got to Blue Cross, we had a token ring on the floor. I probably don't know what that is, but it's really old kind of networking gear. Really, we installed fiber and throughout our data center. And so it's transformed over the 24 years that I've been there. Went from a mainframe email type stuff to setting up Active Directory and installing Exchange for the organization, and created the original domain that's still there today. But from a digital health perspective, spinning up our web servers and kind of being able to work with our provider community. So I tried to lay out a few little points that I thought that might be interest as far as learning opportunities or skill sets as you look at the workplace and as you got to get out there and looking for jobs and whatnot, what might bring, gives you guys some experience of some things to learn and bring to the table as you go to those interviews and stuff. So we do have an internship at Blue Cross, and we do have interns that we work with throughout our company from different colleges. I know this one is one of them. So if that's something you're interested in, I believe there's information on our site and also a dedicated department that we can put you in touch with. Great experience. That's you. That's you. But I've had a few working within our area. We've actually hired a few interns after the fact, being able to kind of get embedded and learn all the tools and technologies that we have, and then kind of roll that into getting hired on after you graduate. So it's a good deal, win-win situation where we're able to train up good resources and then also offer you a job after you graduate. So that's something you can talk to your teams about. So what I have here, so when we talk about digital health for us, it's really about modernizing our ecosystem of things that we do with our provider community and our members. We have different channels that we have in place today. When we think about web, we have a lot of our mobile app integrations. And at the provider's office, they have what they call EHRs, EMR systems, right? When you go into the office, they'll check you in, they'll type in, check in your eligibility. It comes back to us and says, yeah, you're a Blue Cross member. That's all through a portal or API calls back to eligibility services. We do a lot of EDI transactions. If you think about different formats of 270, 71 type real-time calls and stuff like that. But really being able to connect that experience, and over time, it's getting better, but we still have a long way to go. But being able to join that relationship with the provider to our membership, meaning when you go in the office, the providers are having the same similar data that we have internally and vice versa, bi-directional exchange, sharing digital ID cards, being able to look at common claim information, diagnosis information. And so some of that's done through, we have a platform where we connect to providers' EMR systems internally from our Blue Cross system. So we're able to kind of push and pull data down to our systems and also push data to providers' EMR systems, meaning like health plan clinical summaries, an example where we are able to share certain encounters. If you go to the provider's office and they'll see that you went to another hospital and you had this encounter, or you had this procedure, or you had this immunization done, being able to share that with your providers is totally new, right? And so that's really modernizing that kind of encounter and relationship with providers. And then also we kind of pull data back down into our ecosystem and being able to use it on some of these services at the bottom. While you may not be greatly familiar with some of them, but it's really about managing your care. It could be utilization management, which really handles authorizations. When you go to the doctor's office, you might need an X-ray or MRI, so they have to check with the insurance company to get authorization. So really being able to streamline that into the provider's workflows as well. So while we're doing that exchange of data, we also we use Teradata for our EDW. So you might hear SQL Server, you might hear some other database platforms. We have Oracle, we have probably just about every flavor. We've had Sybase, Oracle, SQL, Teradata. And so our EDW, Enterprise Data Warehouse, is on Teradata. And so a lot of the clinical data and data around our organization is housed within the EDW, meaning we pull from different sources throughout our organization, such as claims information, member demographics, pharmacy stuff, and then also the data that we get from providers from their EMR system. We call it clinical data, and the clinical data exchange is what Chris is over. So we get certain file formats, encounter information, immunizations, ADTs, which is a file that when you go to the hospital, they send us a notification that says, hey, Brian got admitted to the hospital. He's here for X, Y, and Z. When you leave, we get another notification that you left. So we get that information kind of real time, and we land it in our enterprise data warehouse, and really being able to share that across with our nurses, with utilization management, population health, different areas of the company to be able to kind of coordinate and know what's going on with Brian's care and stuff like that. So big initiative this year is really being able to kind of further that, is really being able to, we're selling a new kind of mobile app, and it's really geared towards more of the healthcare digital health services, meaning, so you guys might be familiar with MyChart on your phone, right? I have it here. I use it for my provider. We're going to set up one that's kind of branded for Blue Cross. It's going to kind of be our mobile app as well as our member portal. What that'll do is bring together a lot of the healthcare services that you have from your provider side of the house, meaning, going to be able to schedule appointments with your provider, see authorization status, have a digital ID card, and also us pushing digital ID cards into the provider's EMR systems at their office. And so we're doing a lot of cool things like that, and really trying to modernize how we handle our mobile front end and integration with providers. I think another big piece for us is, being able to do similar for our customer service. So we use Dynamics. I have that up on here as kind of maybe a skill set that if you're interested in learning up on some additional material, that's probably good to dig into. We use that for, it's called CRM, Customer Service Relationship Management. We use it sales and marketing, but also our customer service agents use it to kind of have a pane of information when you call in. So Brian calls in, they kind of have my member demographics, they can see my claims, my benefits. But we want to add more data to that, right? We want to make sure they can see authorizations, maybe do live chat with them, making sure that we can have that live chat capability versus email, versus pushing a message through a queue. So trying to kind of push that forward to more of a modern type technology and integrations to be able to service our members better. And it's really about that experience that I'll put up there. We have our members, and we also have our providers that we're trying to also integrate into, allowing them, now that we have connectivity to their EMR systems, before they had to jump out to a website to submit an authorization. I know I'm talking a lot of insurance stuff here, but just some of the technologies and pieces and parts that drive this. So before they had to jump out to a website to submit something, right? And now they can do that integration and authorizations from within their EMR systems directly into our platform, giving us kind of near real time communications, approvals, reviews, shortening kind of the lag time around some of these processes. If you can think about, I've gone through similar procedures here recently, and sometimes you wait, you don't know the status of an authorization, or you're waiting on getting a surgery or something. So this is really increasing that process, bringing it more efficient, cutting down the time, and maybe even getting approval before you leave the office to know that you're all good, everything's been approved. So those are the types of efficiencies and approvals and processes that we're looking to make happen from our provider side. As an employer, as Blue Cross, we have insurance as an employee, but there's also the state groups that we have as groups, a lot of large groups around. So we service a large employer population as well from a group perspective. A lot of portal and integrations. We use Informatica. If you've heard that, it's really an ETL tool. We also use SSIS, which is a Microsoft tool, integration services, right? And so those are tools that we use to integrate and pull data extracts down from EDWs or databases, and we send certain extracts to certain groups for their members and populations. We could send them their membership, their claims, information like that. So really being able to integrate and provide services to the large groups, as well as we use those similar tools to send stuff to our providers, such as Ochsner's and FM Wells and big providers like that, to be able to track certain populations. So they want that information as they see you. But as again, I said, that integration, we're trying to shift away from being able to handle manual type integrations like ETLs, extracts, versus more service-based type integrations, real-time integrations through our platforms that we have around the EMR systems, and our core system there in the middle section, the pink section, really illustrates kind of that platform that we have that integrates to our back-end systems and services and our departments that we have at the bottom when we talk about sales and marketing, wellness, utilization management, population health, and so forth. So really driving a lot of the activity. We talked about customer service agents, right? This year, we're looking to do a lot of things around auto creations of certain cases. You might send off an inquiry. It'll pop up on their screen. We talked about dynamics, right? They have that pane. Here comes a message from Brian. It pops up and creates a case because you sent in a message. And then also live chat is something else that we're trying to work on later this year. So really we're building out that interface for our customer service and kind of pushing them forward in more of a modernized ecosystem. Some of the other things we're looking into, like virtual agents, they have chat bots and different things like that. That's all kind of being explored and looked at. We haven't necessarily got into in implementing those just yet, but it is on the roadmap and something that we're looking at. A lot of conversations of AI, we all know and hear about that. So, again, some of these tools and efficiencies can definitely modernize the way we interact and personalize people's experience across our business. A few other things I'll put on there that I thought might be helpful for you guys if you're interested in learning opportunities and saying, well, if I go apply for Blue Cross, what should I learn? I think when I was here, we're definitely learning other things, and over the years we've done a lot of different learning opportunities, but we don't use those tools anymore. So .NET from a development perspective, but I put Azure on there from a cloud services perspective. We're heavily involved with Azure, and we use a lot of services in Azure. So Microsoft just came out with health data services. It's really services around integrating health data, right? You may have heard of a FHIR server. It's really a common method of exchanging data. There's an org called HL7. They kind of dictate certain resources. So FHIR is just another API-based server that has data and just a standard format of exchanging. And so really when you exchange with certain organizations like the government or certain providers, you want everybody to have the same language and they're talking the same standards and we're exchanging the same file format. So that's where Azure comes into play. You can spin these services up and they kind of, from a software as a service perspective, have that layer there. They kind of manage everything. So we have that space in Azure. Another big piece I put up there is Databricks. Not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but Databricks is another one that heavily used in our organization. It's really a shift in some of the technologies from Informatica, from ETL tools, SSIS tools. Databricks gives you more flexibility around be able to kind of translate, transform, load data. It's really building out workflows, workspaces, and stuff like that. So it's a really cool tool. It's definitely widely adopted now, and it's growing more and more. Being able to not only load the data, but also present the data and kind of Databricks as well. And so we have some integrations into our EDW with Databricks as far as taking data out, creating workflows and flowing them down to certain systems in-house. So that's another one that is pretty good from an experience perspective and kind of getting your arms around that one. Azure, it definitely has other things, right? Virtual servers, virtual networks. It has function apps, tons of stuff in Azure. So when you look at that, I know there's a lot of certifications out there around some of the Azure space, as well as other Microsoft tools that they have. So again, that one would be a great opportunity for a learning perspective. I put Power BI up there. I think you probably heard that. May have heard Tableau is another tool. Really, these are kind of dashboard reporting type tools. We also use SSRS. SSRS is a kind of a SQL reporting services that sits on top of SQL Server on that stack. But Power BI, being able to build out dashboards, reports, visual analytics, right? Pie charts, those type of graphs, whatnot, all dynamic based on filters, drop downs that you create to slice and dice data. And so being able to kind of either pull in data or create data sources to kind of run those reports and dashboards is another tool. Tableau is very similar. Power BI is just a Microsoft tool. Tableau is just one kind of off the shelf, another company tool, but we use both of them heavily. And really, Tableau, we have a lot of external type facing dashboards that we've embedded on a web server. and kind of wired up from a authentication perspective for some of our providers. So I don't know if this is the type of information you guys want to hear or interested, but is there any questions around any of the tools and technologies? Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned that there's a lot of talk about AI.
Yeah.
And I know that healthcare is highly regulated. So could you, like, do you guys foresee like how to apply that to your business? Like, would you like build it and host all the models in-house, or how would that?
Yeah, very good question. I knew I shouldn't have mentioned AI with all this chatter going on, but we haven't necessarily implemented anything yet. We're very careful of how we implement that. We don't want to take decisions out of humans' hands. We always want to make sure we're making decisions, not an AI bot or anything like that, or a model. I can say, at least from right now, from a pilot perspective, it's really about being around. So sometimes we get large sets of notes, from providers or hospitals or things like that. And so in the past, these nurses would have to review hundreds of pages of notes, say, or 20 pages of notes. We were able to kind of summarize that, right? Run that through AI and produce a summarization of the main points that help bring efficiencies. And so I think it's more about being efficient on how we use it. Copilot's another one from a Microsoft perspective, but right now we're just piloting them, but it's really about more of the efficiencies. We do have some that are in-house. We have a health analytics team that kind of builds models, predictive models, like risk of hospitalizations or different things like that. So we have a small team with advanced analytics, or health analytics is what we call them. But some of the other ones are built in some of the platforms that we use. I talked about some of the, the platforms that we use here. Some of it has those type of capabilities built in within the platform. So those models are outside of that. And so right now it's just more from a pilot perspective and more efficiency type use cases.
So I'll add to that. I have a different perspective than Brian's. I came to Blue Cross maybe about 5 years ago. I was working at a hospital. Background-wise, I'm a nurse. I graduated from Southeastern University. And it wasn't long from nursing I got into IT. I've been in healthcare IT for 15 years now. And I've seen it evolve tremendously. You mentioned AI. Some of the things I've seen on the healthcare IT side with AI is diagnosis, so radiology. They'll use AI to pinpoint cancer cells. They'll use AI for whatever algorithm they develop. If a patient comes in, they're at this age, they're at this diagnosis, they have these underlying conditions, then the software or like you said, the medical records say, hey, we recommend this, whatever these labs, these medicines, things like that. And that's changing from when I started as a nurse. We were still on paper. This giant trifold that we still document everything on. The EMR came about, and when we were talking about coming here, what to share with you guys, especially on the healthcare IT side, is about perspective of things, right? So when I started, I was probably the youngest person on our unit. I was a burn nurse. So I worked on our burn unit. Hadn't started long. We implemented medication administration with one of them old-looking barcode scanners attached to the computer that would get ripped off indoors and swung around to documentation. So in this process, I moved to the IT side where I began with physician order entry. I work with a lot of doctors. Okay. Oh, sure.
Just so they can hear. Sorry, housekeeping.
Yeah, I understand. So in this process, we had to teach physicians how to use computers. And that's what I say about perspective. You guys are learning things that in 10, 20 years, you're gonna have to teach me how to do it. So it's an ever learning process, to the point of we had to teach a physician how to use a mouse. You think, I mean, everybody has a iPhone in their pocket, right? Can use anything, but when we ask them to move the mouse over this location, they rubbed it on the screen. So it's just, as things progress, technology progresses, AI progresses. One thing I've noticed too through this time is the software has always tried to keep up with the hardware, whether that's in surgeries, whether that's even in the things that we use, even in the tables we use, the SQL tables, all that kind of data. All the software has always been written to keep up with what the hardware is trying to do. But what we're seeing now is with AI, that's reversed. AI is moving so fast. The software is moving so fast. The hardware is having a hard time keeping up. You can see that in any realm of technology. You see that a lot in video games. The amount of data required now for your GPUs and all that stuff to process this information, it's hard for it to keep up. And we'll see that throughout from now. That I think that switched, and you'll see that. You see that in automobiles now. You see that in every aspect of our lives. So it's been an interesting process, especially for me on this side of healthcare, on the insurance side. My realm, if you look at the thing, is those little dotted blue lines back and forth. That's pretty much where I live. We use secure file transfer protocols for communicating with our providers. So we have I think it's about 240 different provider groups throughout the state that we communicate with. That's about 3,500 locations. And so we're receiving that clinical data from each of these providers that Louisiana Blue uses to keep up with their medications, keep up with their, make sure they're following up their appointments, to, talking with providers to make sure that they have what they need for our members. So that's kind of where I live and realm. But that stirred a good question as far as AI goes. Please, if you have any other questions,
What are some of the classes, or what are y'all learning right now? I see back there all the computers. What are y'all working on?
Currently, I'm in Science 390, 383, and 329. 390 is data structures, 383 is actually the Dr. Arcadi here, and then 329 is network security. It talks a lot about, like, some of the stuff we started with, how to build an Ethernet cord to connect computers to each other, or computer or phone, stuff like that. We learned TCP IP protocols.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
That's good. I mean, the basics and fundamental of networking is the backbone of everything. So as you do applications or databases, if you don't understand the underlying network and how a network functions from an IP perspective, that's good. Network security, ports, definitely from a firewall perspective when you think about networking and that type of stuff. So, HTTP, HTTPS, like you mentioned, secure FTP port, port 22, FTP 21. So you just lower it over time, and that's good. You mentioned database structures. What is that class focused on, and what database, or is it just general concepts and
Data structures.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So that class is almost purely focused on Boolean algebra, digital logic. Alright,
You go,
Kubernetes is stacks, queues, circular arrays,
Okay.
two-dimensional arrays, identity matrices, matrices, all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And if you, sure, three of us are working on the enterprise systems project, which is just some, migrating to this web application. Oh, sorry, that's quiet. Okay, all right, sorry. A lot of us are the same process, we're going the same age group. Currently work on the center side of the enterprise systems project, which is a library database web application with Python. I'm not sure.
WSGI, the database is just a MySQL.
We use information systems, that's web development, HTML or React tech stack, very fun.
Yeah, we have IS hardware servers, right? Web logic, web server, just pretty much every web server thing. People try to stay away from headaches. So typically it's the IS servers that we work on. Yeah, and so we have a big department, cybersecurity. You might have mentioned security, but cybersecurity is another one. That we have a lot of people, if you don't imagine, with all the ransomwares and different things like that these days, and people trying. So we periodically have certain tests that run against our servers and infrastructure. When we talk about networking, like pen tests, vulnerability checks, making sure things are patched from an infrastructure perspective, stuff like that. SMS is another one that we haven't necessarily delved too much into, but we are going to do some stuff this year around SMS. From a healthcare perspective, it's really, again, be careful, we have to be very secure. We have, call it PHI, it's just personal health information, right? Anything sensitive about you, and we have to make sure that anything from a communication perspective is secure. So when you think about SMS, being able to communicate with nurses or back in-house to customer service, the secure channels and things like that. So some of that is taking a little bit longer just from a security perspective and making sure we do things appropriately. But so we are working on that one as well. We have IVRs and a lot of telecom equipment in-house. We think about calling in, IVRs, that routing. Press 1 for customer service, press 2 for whatever, right? And so we have a whole gamut around that ecosystem and managing that from a phone perspective. And we have soft phones. We have a large portion of our company is still remote. I think Chris is probably more remote than I am, so I had to go back into the office, which is okay. We're getting to have more and more people come in, but so we have to make sure that we're supporting virtual work environments. We heavily rely on Teams, VPN. That's another thing that you guys are familiar with from a virtual private network, being able to connect to your VPN while you're at home, really extending and securing that tunnel into your work environment and data center to be able to use, email, apps, communicate to other workers and do the things that you need to from home. And so a large part of that is our Teams and Microsoft Stack. We do Teams from a kind of a chat messaging back and forth within we've had WebEx, Skype, Zoom, a lot of them over time. We're Teams now. But, so that's another piece of our ecosystem is a large portion of our workforce is still remote and some in the office. So really being able to use those hosted services in Azure to be able to run the virtual desktops, virtual servers and things like that, being able to run those. That's what Citrix has as well. They have a kind of virtual servers and desktops and stuff that we can provision. So that's another piece of it. That's about it as far as, I wasn't going to maybe jump into some of these. I think it probably bore you around some of the gaps in care and some of the other examples I had down there. But That's just some of the things that we do in support from a digital health perspective for the company. Digital health, we brought it together, it supports all our web servers, meaning our provider community, from provider portals, provider search, being able to support our brokers who are the ones out there, kind of like selling insurance, right? Like home insurance, car insurance, but they sell health insurance. So we have to support their portals and access and that community too. And then we, of course, we have our member portal and mobile app is also under digital health. And we really brought these areas together because all of these systems integrate, and we really want it to be tied together from a data perspective, member experience perspective, and delivery experience. But and then we have the CRM Dynamics platform under digital health. And so all our portals integrate into Dynamics. Customer service uses Dynamics. So you think about the integration, the data that flows across these platforms, the processes, workflows, APIs that go from one system to the other. And then we have one kind of platform center that connects the provider to that ecosystem under digital health. So it really brings together all these groups that I mentioned, from a provider, broker group, member, customer service, and all these underlying departments all together in this ecosystem using the same data services and being kind of aligned across. Before, we had kind of, distributed systems, if you will, in different areas. And so this year we brought all that together under my area to bring kind of efficiencies and alignment around how we can deliver and modernize digital health for our providers and really our members as well, to better the health delivery for the members and also our providers, to improve the experience that they have, make it more efficient to them, make sure that they're getting the data, being able to submit things faster, and being able to turn around in time, and really making sure we manage the cost the best we can across those ecosystems as well, from a member premium perspective and our providers. So that's always a top of mind as well, because I'm a member, and so I use the services a lot. And so when I call in customer service, I kind of get the same experience as everybody else. And I kind of go through the systems that we're managing, and I see pain points maybe, or how things can improve. So that's the good thing about Blue Cross is, our neighbors, our family, our friends have Blue Cross for the most part usually. And so they may come ask about insurance. I don't know about the benefits and how certain things work, but I can tell them how the systems and IT works. And so that's why you put kind of really passionate. I think we have a lot of people at Blue Cross really passionate about what we do, because we do support all of that, our families and friends and community, right? And so that's another good part about where we work that I love. So any other questions around? Is there anyone here a junior or senior? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, when you're talking about the remote workforce, remote work environment, there's been mixed experiences throughout different industries, what do you attribute your ability to continue working remote and be successful with that, as opposed to so many that have not?
It definitely has been certain positions that we found. If you're managing back-end systems, you don't really interact with the rest of the organization per se, from like maybe project management. They need to meet people and do all this coordination. If you're just managing a database server, you really probably don't interact. You just kind of monitor yourself, you load data. And so from an IT perspective, we have a lot of positions in that category, if you will. Being a leader, I'm in the office. We have to kind of have more collaboration, strategy sessions, building out solutions and things like that. So our interaction is a little bit higher than some of the other areas. A lot of the customer service is still, remote. I mean, we have soft phones and virtual desktops. So any customer service probably you call today, or any company, is probably remote, right? You hear stuff in the background and all kinds of stuff. So that's another area. I think the piece, we do have things. We want people on camera when they're on, the remote and on a meeting. They're not just kind of tuned out. So we like people to be on cameras, and we make sure the interaction is what we need. But also, I think the underlying infrastructure has enabled us, really from the time COVID was around, and then spinning that up to be able to support that, and then that kind of being the base of allowing people to continue to be remote. We've done a good job around the Agile services and the infrastructure that we have to enable that. And so I think that's a big part of it too. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody interested in internship?
Well, I guess let me speak on that. I guess. So my name is Busy Gies, and I am the manager of talent sourcing and programs at Louisiana Blue, which is hard. I'm trying to get used to saying that, but it's been hard. But I've been at Louisiana Blue for a little over 6 years, but I've known Dr. Roncati, as we were talking about earlier, for about 17. So certainly appreciate all of you guys being here today. Brian, certainly appreciate you too, and Chris, and hearing your stories and really kind of what we're doing. This brochure here has our QR code on the back, and it does have our internships that we have that are open for this summer. I have a couple that are open in cybersecurity. I have some analyst roles, configuration roles. So certainly would love to see some Southeastern students in there. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about our internship program.
I didn't realize I was. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do what?
You have a question?
Yeah, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
Can you unmute yourself, Gene?
How you doing? Good afternoon. My name's Gene Aragon. So I know I came a little late, but I had a question. So I'm a Navy veteran. I spent 10 years as a corpsman, the medical field in the Navy. And towards my last 2 years, we transitioned from the old medical systems that we had, that was Alta, and we switched over to something new called Genesis. They kind of mimicked Epic. And, I was kind of one of the first people in the Navy to implement that on the West Coast. And then we brought it down to Louisiana before I got out of the Joint Reserve Base Belchase. So my question was, how do I translate that the military medicine to kind of mimic civilian medicine, kind of, on a resume for an internship, or, just for future? Because unfortunately, the Navy doesn't give us certifications other than like HIPAA and certain stuff, but I do have like experience working on a system administrator on the military side of healthcare IT.
Okay, so I actually have somebody that works on my team who also does military recruiting as well. So if you can put in your information into the Google Meet, I'll reach back out to you, and we'll speak one-on-one on that. But she is a Marine, and she certainly has worked with tons of veterans to help translate some of that experience. She actually just did a military 101 recruiting training for all of our talent acquisition partners and our talent acquisition team. So I think she would be the perfect person to be able to help you with that.
Yeah, I'm a veteran too. I would say that, I think you can translate that. We talk about the EMR systems. You talk about Epic. You mentioned Epic. So that is we have like 75% of our providers in Louisiana use the Epic EMR. EMR is electronic medical record, right? Or EHR, health record. And so being able to connect to that platform. And so Genesis sounds like very similar, platform from a implementation, integration, data management in the medical field and so forth. So I think translating that to a similar Epic type experience would be a good approach. As just some additional comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. From what I understood, when the bidding was going on between the DoD and everything and DHA, they wanted to get Epic, but I don't know what happened. So it's literally Epic, just with a different name. So that's the only thing that I've come to hear from what Genesis is now in the DoD. But thank you. I appreciate it. I'll drop my information. I appreciate all the information and whatnot.
Absolutely.
We connect to gosh, I would say it's probably 16 unique EMR vendors. You know, you have Cerners, you have Epic, Allscript, Meditech, and so on throughout our state. While a lot of them have Epic, there's others. And so that's what Chris's team does, really connecting those other EMR systems into our workflows with our care management nurses, utilization management, health, and all of the other areas that use the data to inform them while they're working with providers or our members. So Genesis would be just yet another of those connections when we talk about EMR connectivity. So I saw you have Excel pulled up. Is that Excel back there?
Yeah, this is just for our
Excel is a good look. Learn everything with Excel you can. That's a good tool. We use it every day. Any other questions or comments? Who's getting extra credit for this? Anybody?
We gotta be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have certain things too. You know, I think hackathons, other things that are kind of cool and interesting, giving learning opportunities, not only around Blue Cross, but around Baton Rouge as well and other areas. So I think that's always fun. We participate in a lot of that. The association also has similar activities where we can collaborate with other Blues across the country on different things and technology and stuff. So another cool learning opportunity. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that you sponsor.
We have a foundation, and so we'd have to run it through the.
Okay, email before I get in the car. I mean, yeah.
Well, we'd love to also come down and just kind of work with, you know, you guys and be a part of that just from an experience perspective. We enjoy that. Anything we can do is help support that. I'm all about it. So I know the guys would love to miss work and come down here and have fun and join that if you do that. You guys might beat us, but maybe we can put a team together and compete. Yeah, that would be fun. All right, well, hopefully I didn't bore you too much. I tried to stay away from really heavy insurance stuff. It's hard to talk about it without getting too much into some of those weeds. Try to stay high level of maybe learning opportunities, what would be good to kind of bring into, you know, an interview or give you. I think the internship is one great place. Again, we've hired several people through that process. And Sydney, you know, he's one of our top performers now. He was an intern. So all about it. We definitely need to support it. So, all right. Well, I don't have anything else unless you guys do. Okay.
All right, thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Brian, to Chris, to Missy for coming, joining us again. Challenge accepted on the hackathon. Where's G? G-Doc is going to be on. I think he's on it already. Okay. She haven't even completed the talk. Dr. Regis leads our Brute Force Lions. He does all of our DTFs and those types of events. So thank you for that. We appreciate our virtual audience as well as our in-person audience. Next month, March 20th, we'll have Mr. Brian Casey from Lanyap IT speaking. This, again, was the first of our series, so thanks for kicking it off. Have a great afternoon, and we look forward to seeing y'all at the hackathon.
Let's do it.